Hello everyone, and this session is for revision of science, grade 7 advanced. And today we will be talking about the multiple choice questions based on the end of term coverage document received from the ministry. So let's start. Before we start going into the details of the questions, I would like to remind you that this year the questions that are going to come for the multiple choice questions, that is a computer-based assessment, will be 20 questions. So you have to answer 20 questions in 1 hour. And the modules which are going to come for your exam are 2 module body systems and then the reproduction of organisms. Body system includes 5 lessons. Lesson 1, levels of organization. Lesson 2, structure and support. Lesson 3, obtaining energy and removing waste. Lesson 4, moving materials. Lesson 5, control and information processing. Then the other module, reproduction of organisms, has lesson 1, inheritance. Lesson 2, types of reproduction. Lesson 3, reproduction and growth of animals. Lesson 4, reproduction and growth of plants. I don't see any question from this lesson. So let's move ahead. So we will go according to the lessons in your book. So maybe you will find that the question number is not tallying, but these questions have been arranged according to the lessons as they are in your book. So now this question is related to the tissues found in plants and animals. So it says here 3-dimensional thinking. You can see here it says 3-dimensional thinking on page 10. So if you go to page 10, you will find this question there. And it says that write an argument that explains which human tissue is most similar in function to dermal tissue in plants. So we know that in plants, there are 3 types of tissues. And these tissues that are found in plants are dermal, vascular, and ground tissue. Now, they have different functions. Dermal tissue provides protection. Vascular tissue transports water and nutrients, and ground tissue provides storage and support, and also photosynthesis takes place here. So in humans, the tissue which is providing protection is connective tissue, is epithelial tissue. In humans, we have again 4 tissues here: muscle tissue, connective tissue, nervous tissue, and epithelial tissue. So muscle tissue causes movement. Connective tissue provides structure and support. Nervous tissue carries messages, and epithelial forms a protective outlay. So you can see here, this epithelial tissue is similar to the dermal tissue in plants. So that's the answer, that dermal tissue in plants is similar to the epithelial, vice versa. Epithelial is similar to dermal tissue. Next question is collect evidence on page 15. Here they're talking about how our organs group together in an organism to form a larger system. So here we are talking about levels of organization and how they are organized in the human body. So organs are organized in the body into groups. We know that organs are organized into groups which are called organ system, and they work together in completing different tasks, and that's how all the organ systems combine and form the organism. Now here is an example, like the organs of the digestive system. For example, we have stomach, we have intestines, and liver, etc. All these organs are doing their work. They do their job, and together they form the system, which is known as the digestive system. I would remind you here again that the levels of organization start from cell. Cell is the smallest level. Then many group of cells will join together to do a particular job, a specific job. They're called tissues. Then tissues, they join together to form like groups of tissues will join together, do one function, form an organ. Then many organs form the organ system. and different organ systems form the organism. Here there are some examples. Bone tissue, bone cell, bone tissue, bone, which is an organ, and then the skeletal system, which is the system. Example from a plant. Plant cell, it's forming a tissue. You can say the dermal tissue, for example. Then you have an organ like the leaf, organ system, which is a shoot system, and then the plant, that is an organism. Another example here you can see is of a cell. Cell forming a tissue. Tissue is forming an organ, for example, a liver, and liver is part of the digestive system. So I hope you understand this question. Then we come to the levels of organization. I just now told you organ, after organ. If you have to arrange this, which one will be switched? So you know that the first should be cell. So we'll switch cells and organs, and then we'll have a proper levels of organization. We'll have cell, tissue, organ, organ system, and organism. This is multiple choice questions which have been marked for the first lesson, levels of organization. Let's move on to the next lesson, that is structure and support. Here it says page number 28, physical science connection. Physical science connection is telling us here that the arms and legs, they're just like machines. They're pulling the bones and acting like machines, which are called levers. And levers are rotating around a fixed point. So 3 different types of joints are there. You need to remember here the 3 types of joints. Familiarize yourself with the figures about the 3 joints. This is a ball and socket joint. It allows bones to move and rotate in nearly all directions. This is the description about it, and we find it in hips and shoulder. Then we have the hinge joint. Hinge joint allows movement only in one direction, single direction. They move back and forth. We find this type of a joint in fingers, elbows, and knees. Then third type of a joint is a pivot joint. Pivot joint allows bones to turn. They rotate around a point. So they won't turn. Like example, you can find this type of a joint in your neck. You can rotate your neck, lower arm and below the elbow. Lower arm below the elbow is the example. So please go through the figures, identify the description of the function and the examples. Now here you can see another term which has been mentioned is ligament. Ligaments are connective tissue. They join 2 bones. So like here you can see this bone and this bone are joined by ligaments. This is a ligament which is joining. It keeps the bones in position. It can stretch and it can keep the bones in position. Here you can see another ligament. Here you can see this is one ligament. And this is not a ligament. This is this one here. It is a tendon. Tendon, because you can see the muscle here. Tendons are structures or connective tissue which are joining muscle to bone. So the 2 you have to remember. Tendon is joining muscle to bone and ligament is joining bone to bone. I hope that you understand that. 3-dimensional thinking, page 30. So here it says use an argument to support or refute the following claim. Your body would be able to function without your skeletal system. Do you think your body can function without your skeletal system? No. Your body cannot function without the skeletal system because your body then would become like a gelatin because the skeletal system is giving support. It is made up of bones. And if there are no bones, the body does not have any support. This would leave the organs. And also it's one function, important function of the skeletal system is to protect our organs. You know, the brain is protected by the skull. The spinal cord is protected by a vertebral column or backbone. So if the bones were not there, our organs would get more chance of getting damaged, like, heart and lungs are protected by the rib cage. And also you would not be able to move without my muscles being attached to bones. So if the muscles are not attached to bones, movement would also not be possible. So we cannot think of our body working properly without the skeletal system. Next question. This is again based on the skeletal and muscular system. Here we are talking about the different type of muscle cells. So you know that there are three types of muscle cells. First is the skeletal muscles, cardiac muscles, and the smooth muscles. Skeletal muscles are long and thin. They have many, this is like you can fill in here. They have many nuclei and they have stripes on them. And because of the stripes, they look like a striped muscle, striped in tissue. Smooth muscles are thin. They have one nuclei, one central nuclei. Cardiac muscle cells are clustered with central nuclei. So these are the three types of muscles. And multiple nuclei could help skeletal muscles contract faster. So that's the reason, advantage of the multiple nuclei present in the skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscle needs a lot of energy because, you know, they keep contracting and relaxing muscles. So whenever the muscles contract and relax, they need energy. So that's why muscles are packed with mitochondria, which can give energy to the muscles. Okay, next in question is about, and also here one thing I would like to mention is that skeletal muscles are under our conscious control. We can control our skeletal muscle. That's why they are voluntary muscles. Voluntary means we can control them. And cardiac and smooth muscle are not under our control. We cannot control them. So we call them involuntary muscles. So we have voluntary and involuntary based on if we can control them or not. So where can we find skeletal muscles? Skeletal muscles can be found in our arms, in our legs, because they are attached to our bones. Smooth muscles are found in the internal organs of our body, like our stomach, our blood vessels, our digestive system, and cardiac muscles are found specifically in the heart. Then we come to page number 36, investigation. It is about a plant system. Here it says that take a look at the image of the plant structure. Use what you know about animal bodies to infer how the indicated structures support the plant. So they have indicated here the root system, and here they've indicated the stem or the shoot system. So here the stem and here the root. You have to tell how they are supporting the plant. So the root of the plant is keeping the plant in place. It is anchoring the plant in the soil. It is keeping it in place and holding the plant strongly. The stem is like the skeleton of the plant. It holds it straight up and gives it support. So these are the two functions of the root and the plant and the stem. You know, the plant has two types, two systems, a root system and a shoot system. So that's all in the second lesson, structure and support. Then we come to the third lesson, that is about obtaining energy. Three-dimensional thinking, page 60, question number 2. This is for the digestive system. This figure is very important. This figure is showing an important process which is called peristalsis. Now, what is peristalsis? It is a wave of contractions in the muscles of the digestive system, so that which helps the food to move in the digestive system. So before that, I would just like a little information about the digestive system. Digestion is the process of breaking down complex molecules into small molecules. This overall process is called digestion. Now, digestion are two types, mechanical and chemical digestion. Mechanical digestion is when it is physically broken down into small pieces. We say it is mechanical digestion. Like when we chew food, we are breaking down the food into small pieces. So mechanical digestion happens when we grind food with our teeth and tongue. And why is it important? Because they go hand in hand. Mechanical helps chemical. Why? Because when the food breaks down into smaller pieces, it is easy for us to swallow, and it has more surface area so that the enzymes, the digestive juices can act on it. So it both are like important. Mechanical is important for chemical. And chemical is when chemical reactions are breaking down pieces of food into small molecules. So chemical reaction that takes place. The esophagus is a tube that is joining the mouth, or it is to the stomach. It's bringing the food from the mouth to the stomach. It's a muscular tube. And food moves in this through a process which is called peristalsis. This, so this is the process. It's waves of muscle contraction. Here you have to choose. So it says waves of muscle contraction help push food down the esophagus toward the stomach. Then we have after that the stomach, and after stomach comes the small intestine. Here I would want you to know about villi, because chemical digestion mostly is taking place in the small intestine, and it also absorption takes place. So two processes are taking place in the small intestine. One is digestion, complete digestion happens here, and second is absorption of nutrients, both the things. Now for absorption of nutrients, to make it like faster and more, because food has to be absorbed, the folds, it has folds. The folds of the small intestine are covered with projections, finger-like projections, and these finger-like projections are called villi. We call them villi. Villi, singular is villus and plural is villi, finger-like projection, and each has lot of blood capillaries, and these blood capillaries, they absorb the nutrients from the digestive system. So this is important information about the digestive system. Then there is another question here, three-dimensional thinking question, page number 54. As the bread was digested, it interacted with other body systems. You know that all body systems interact with each other. So here you have to explain how different body systems were involved in the digestion of bread. So when we eat bread that was eaten, it goes through our digestive system. Now, when it is going through our digestive system, we just studied that there is a process where there are waves of contractions in the muscles, which are helping the food to move forward, peristalsis. So here the digestive system is interacting with the muscular system by the process of peristalsis. So it is interacting with another system, which is the muscular system. Muscles are pushing food down the esophagus. Then what's happening in the small intestine? I just told you here it has villi, which have lot of blood vessels. So that when it goes in the small intestine and food has been digested, now it needs to be absorbed. The nutrients need to be absorbed so that the body can use those nutrients. So the small intestine, there are villi, and these villi have lot of blood vessels. These blood vessels absorb the nutrients from the digestive system. So here the circulatory system is interacting with the digestive system. So this is example where two systems are interacting with the digestive system, the muscular system and the circulatory system. Three-dimensional thinking, page 60 question. What would be the effect on your body if you did not have kidneys? Now, what is the work of the kidneys? The kidneys, they filter blood. And when they filter blood, they remove the toxic substances from the blood. They're filtering it, making it clean. So it is, if supposing the kidneys are not working, what will happen? The waste would not be able to be filtered, will not be able to be removed from the blood, and then it would keep collecting in the blood and it would become toxic. So the answer would be waste would collect in the blood and become toxic. Then we come to the next question. Now we come to the third lesson, next lesson about circulatory moving materials. Collect evidence, page number 73. It says, how do humans transport materials? Record your evidence. Now, this is a very broad question. How do humans transport material? Here you'll have to talk, you'll have to know, you have to remember a lot about how the materials are being transported in our body. You know that the circulatory system is transporting materials with the blood to different parts of the body. So we know that the heart is a 4-chambered heart. It has 2 upper chambers and 2 lower chambers. So I'll show you the figure of the heart. Please give me a time. 1 minute. We are in lesson 4, moving materials. I'll show you the figure and then I'll explain it to you about the heart. Sorry, it is taking some time. Okay. So here, you can check it here. Simply this is the heart. The heart has 4 chambers. These are the upper chambers. These are called the atria, singular atrium, and blood enters here. And then from atria, it goes to the lower chambers. They are called ventricles. So there are 2 ventricles and 2 atria. Uh, we have the left atrium, the right atrium, the left ventricle, and the right ventricle. Blood comes to the upper chambers and then goes to the lower chambers. And from there, it goes to the different parts of the body. So, and how does it go? The heart, the blood, the circulatory system has 3 parts: the blood, heart, and the blood vessels. So, blood vessels are tiny tubes which are taking the blood to different parts of the body. And there are 3 types of blood vessels: arteries, veins, and capillaries. So, arteries, they carry blood away from your heart. You can remember A is for artery, A is for away. It is taking blood away from your heart. Veins are vessels that are carrying blood towards the heart. They're bringing blood to the heart. Capillaries are very tiny vessels and they are like connecting the arteries and the veins here. And it is all the exchange of material like gases or nutrients. It takes place here in the capillaries. Tiny vessels, they enable oxygen, carbon dioxide, and nutrients to move between your circulatory and your body. So these capillaries are important. Remember these 3 types of blood vessels. Okay, let's come back to our this document. Okay, so I already told you about the ventricles, arteries, and capillaries. Human transport materials by respiratory and circulatory system. We just spoke about the circulatory system. The respiratory system is also transporting substances. What is it transporting? Gases. Which gases? Oxygen. Oxygen comes into our body when we inhale it, air, and then when carbon dioxide goes out of our body, it leaves our body when we exhale it. So inhalation is taking in of air and exhalation removing air or removing carbon dioxide. The gas exchange takes place in the alveoli where oxygen goes into the blood from the alveoli to the blood and carbon dioxide goes from the blood to the alveoli. The circulatory system transports nutrients, gases. So blood is transporting many things: nutrients, gases, waste, and other substances throughout the body. Next question comes between collect evidence, page number 79. How do other animals transport material? So we just spoke about human being, how humans transport. Now it's asking how do other animals. So other animals like frogs, insects, etc. We can divide their circulatory system can be divided into 2 types. One is open circulatory system and the other is closed circulatory system. So there are other animals such as frogs, they transport materials using closed circulatory system. Even humans, we have a closed circulatory system. And in closed circulatory system, the materials, they move through blood vessels. They have blood vessels and they're moving through. They are invertebrates, which do not have a vertebral column. We call them invertebrates, like bees, etc., insects, etc., they tend to have an open circulatory system. Now, open circulatory system transports blood and fluids into spaces. So there are spaces around the organ and blood goes into that spaces. It's open. And their exchange of gases takes place. You can see it here more clearly. This is the insect. It has an open circulatory system. You can see there is space, blood goes in here and then gets back. So this is open. This is frog. It has a closed circulatory system. You see, there are no open spaces. So two types of circulatory system, open and closed. Blood and other fluids into open spaces surround organs in the body. Oxygen, nutrients in blood can enter all tissues and cells directly. In closed vessels of animals and closed circulatory systems move blood and other substances through the body faster. It is a faster process. Closed is faster process. And small blood vessels called capillaries surround organs and they help in exchange of. Then there's one more thing. The heart has different number of chambers in different organisms. For example, fish has a heart with only 2 chambers. Amphibians like frog, etc., they have heart which consists of 3 chambers. Birds and mammals, all birds and mammals, cats, dogs, humans, they have, and all the birds, they have heart with 4 chambers. So all it is, you can remember this, all those animals which have a heart of 3 or 4 chambers, they use their lungs for respiration. For breathing, they need their lungs. Now, collect evidence, page 79. They're talking about how do animals breathe. Firstly, they can be breathing by diffusion, tracheal tubes, gills, and lungs. Different organisms. Diffusion is just substances moving from high concentration to low concentration. So oxygen outside is high concentration, it comes into the organism's body. And from the body, carbon dioxide moves out. This is simple diffusion, and this happens mostly in the unicellular organisms. Then we have tracheal tubes. They are structures that branch into small tubes like in insects. So oxygen gets into the body through the tracheal tube. Gills, we know that all organisms that live in water, like fish, etc., they breathe through their gills. And gills, oxygen diffuses into the animal's body and carbon dioxide out of the gills. And they use gills for gas exchange. Then lungs are bag-like organs present in the organism, like those which breathe with lung. And they fill with air. Air diffuses into the capillaries. We'll be studying about this in more in. Okay. Then there is a 3-dimensional thinking question, page number 82, question number 3. Which best explains the function of the alveoli in the respiratory system? Now, alveoli are small bags present in the respiratory system, and they are supplied with lot of blood vessels. So when air enters the alveoli, exchange of gases takes place in the alveoli. And they provide large surface area so that oxygen can go into the blood and carbon dioxide can move into the outside from the blood. Then we come to the next lesson, which is control and processing information, nervous system. Collect evidence, page number 90. How does the nervous system enable surface to balance? So a surface is able to balance, move and react by using senses. We have different type of senses, 5 senses, which help us to detect the changes in the environment, and so the surface can also balance it. The senses are forming an important system which is known as a sensory system. Sensory system is part of our nervous system. It detects and senses the environment. A human uses senses. Now, what are the senses? Vision, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. 5 senses. They help us to detect the environment. Vision by our eyes, hearing by our ears, smell by our nose, taste by our tongue, touch by the skin. Other than this, we also have sense for balance and direction, and this is also present in our ear. All parts of the sensory system have special structures which help us to detect the environment, and these are called receptors. They detect the stimulus. They help us to detect the stimulus and the environment. Each of the senses has different receptors. For example, vision, eye. The receptors are photoreceptors because they help us to see, to help us to detect the light, the color. So it is photoreceptors. Then the ear, it has auditory receptors. Then the nose, they have chemical receptors. The taste also chemical receptors, and mechanical receptors or touch in the skin. Now you're going to have one problem which you're going to get for math, like solving problems. So you should be able to solve it. It's given on page number 99. It's about speed, distance, and time. You have to remember the formula. Speed is equal to distance over time. The unit of speed depends on the unit of distance. If here the distance is meter, time is in seconds, so speed is in meter per second. Here they've given you a question, says the speed of sound wave travel depends on the type and temperature of the medium through which it is traveling. In air, that is 68 degrees, the speed, this has been given to you, that at 68 degree Fahrenheit, the speed of sound is 343 meters per second. This is the speed of sound at this temperature. At different temperatures, speed of sound is different. If they will ask you some other temperature, they will give you a table which will show different temperatures with their speeds. In this case, they have given you that at 68 degree Fahrenheit, speed is 343. Now, this is the problem. How long would it take sound waves traveling through air that is 68 degree Fahrenheit to travel 1,372 meters? Now you have to use an equation. You'll use this equation. How long means what are you calculating? You're calculating the time. Speed is given 343 meter per second. Distance is 13722 time. So to find out time, what will you do? You will divide the distance by speed. Distance by speed, right? So if you will see here, you can use this distance. Sorry. Okay. So we can use the formula for time also. This time, if you have to calculate time, you say time equals to distance divided by speed. If you remember, I told you in class about the triangle. If you don't get confused, you can use the triangle. Here you have distance, here you have speed and time. Now, if you have to calculate time, you will hide this part and you hide time and it shows distance over speed. If you have to calculate speed, put your finger on S. What do you get? Distance divided by time. If you have to find distance, hide the distance. This means speed multiplied by time. So you can use this formula accordingly. In this case, you have to find time. So time will be distance divided by speed. You can do it like this, distance divided by speed. The distance is 1,372 divided by 343. You can find out, divide it, and you get answer will be 4 seconds. Now, the next question is how long would it take sound waves traveling through air? That is, again, temperature is the same. So you're going to use the same speed which has been given here. Travel 2,058 meters. Use an equation to solve this problem. Here again, you are using the same thing. How long means you have to find the time. You use the same formula. So here you'll get 2058 divided by 343. You can divide it, your answer would be 6 seconds. Practice some more sums. I will be also sending to you on your LMS. Okay, so Okay, sorry. Now we come to the next question, which says three-dimensional thinking, page 110. Here it's talking about this figure. You know, this is a figure of an eye. You should know the parts of the eye. First part, this part right in front, it has not been labeled in this figure, but this part is the cornea. Inside you have a black opening. This is known as the pupil, and the colored part of the eye, which is called the iris. Then there is a clear structure at the back, which is the lens. And here this part at the back is called the retina. The image is always formed at the retina. Which numbered structure focuses the light on the retina? So light is being focused by the lens. This is question number 3 on. Okay. Now here again, three dimensions, page 110. A doctor sees a patient who has a loss of balance from an illness. The doctor thinks injury to the sense receptors for balance might be causing this. In which structure are they located? I just told you that the ear also has structures which are receptors for balance. In our inner ear, we have two main structures. One is the semicircular canals and one is the cochlea. Cochlea is for hearing, mainly it has hair cells which help us to hear, and the semicircular canals have a fluid which like it is responsible for balance of the body. So in the inner ear we find that. Now we come to the next question about inheritance, page number 130. Question number 2, Punnett square. You know that Punnett square, whenever we are making the Punnett square, there are 4 squares. Here firstly, you should know what is a genotype and a phenotype. Phenotype is how you see the trait of any organism, like straight wings. This is phenotype. But when you're mentioning small c, or capital C, this is the genotype, because you're talking about the genes. You're talking about the alleles of that trait, right? Scientists discovered that inside each cell is a nucleus that contains thread-like structures called chromosomes. So there are chromosomes in the nucleus, and these chromosomes, they contain genetic information. And this genetic information controls our traits. The chromosome exists as pairs always. They always in the form of pairs, and one chromosome comes from one parent. Gene is a section on the chromosome, and it has information for one trait only, like color of the eye, one trait. It will have information, that's a gene. And gene has 2 forms, and these 2 forms of genes, they are called the alleles. So the 2 alleles that control the phenotype of a trait, when we are talking about the alleles, these are the 2 alleles which are controlling the phenotype. These alleles are, when we write it this way, it is the genotype. So you should know what is phenotype and genotype. When we are writing it either as uppercase or lowercase. When we write it as uppercase letters, it represents a dominant phase, and lowercase is a recessive. Now here, if you see this is small c represents straight wings, and capital C represents curly wings. So we will we will split it into 2 alleles, and we write them here, small c and small c. We will split this into 2 alleles and we write it here, capital C, capital. And then you will find which one is coming. Genotype is coming from the difference. Like this square, you'll get one from here. So it will be capital C, small c. If there is even one uppercase, it means it will be the dominant trait. So it will be curly. To get the recessive trait, both should be small letters. So in this case, we're getting all dominant. Now, what is dominant trait? Like if you see here, all are curly, though there is a small c with that. So dominant trait is that trait which is blocking the other trait. It is not allowing it to be seen. Like curly wings are blocking the straight wings. This is dominant trait. And the one which is being blocked, that is the recessive trait. So I told you the phenotype and genotype. Phenotype is when we are saying round, we are describing it, round, wrinkled, green, yellow, purple, white. That is the phenotype, how you observe. Brown eyes, blue eyes, tall, short. That is the phenotype. Genotype is telling you the alleles, capital R, small r, capital Y, small y, capital Z, small z, capital R, small, capital R. So now genotypes can be two types. It can be homozygous and it can be heterozygous. Homo means that both the alleles are of the same type. Both are either uppercase capital letters or both are small letters. If they are capital letters, we say homozygous dominant. If they are small letters, we say homozygous recessive. And heterozygous is a mixture, one capital, one small. So when the two alleles of a gene are the same, its genotype is homozygous. Both capital R and small r are homozygous. If the two alleles are different, then it is heterozygous. Investigation page 130. Suppose that now here they've told you how to do the Punnett square. The steps. First, you split the alleles from the male genotype, that is capital Y, small y, and place one letter on each column. So here we write capital Y, small y. Split the alleles from the female and then place them. So capital Y, small y. So we're putting it here. Then copy female's allele across each row. Copy male alleles. So now this is capital Y. So here you'll get capital Y. Here you have capital Y and small y. So capital Y, small y. Here you have small y, here capital Y. We will always write capital first. So capital Y or small. In this you have both small y. So you get. Now, even if there is one up, I told you if there is only one capital letter, it will be dominant. So this will be yellow because it has both capital and one. But this one will be green because it has both recessive. So this is how it will look like. Now page 135, question number 3. When Mendel crossed a true breeding plant with purple flowers and a true breeding plant with white flowers, all offsprings had purple flowers. The best explanation for this data is that white flowers are what happened. Now, true breeding is like when he is crossing the same color always, and he's always getting the same color. That's true breeding. Now he took, if you will see here, I will explain it to you here. He took two purples, and when he crossed them, he got purple. He took two white, when he crossed them, he got all white. So these are true breeding plants. Now he took one true breeding purple and one true breeding white, and he crossed these. Now when he crossed these two, to his surprise, he should have got a white somewhere, but he did not. He got all purple. Where did the white go? It is blocked. It has been hidden. So the color which has blocked the white is the purple. So it means purple is dominant and white is recessive because it has been blocked. So this is called the first generation. First generation purple flowering plants are called. Now here, this are all purple. We call them hybrid because white has hidden. They have been obtained from true breeding. They are called hybrid, and why they are hybrid? Because their parents were different. They were true breeding but different colors, different forms of. Then when you breed these two purples, hybrid purples, then the second generation we see the white comes back. How did the white reappear? So this shows that it was hidden, it was blocked by the purple, but now you can see it. So some offsprings had white flowers, even though both parents had purple. Both were. This results were similar each time Mendel cross-pollinated. The trait that had disappeared in the first generation here has reappeared in the second generation. Now we come to the behaviors of animals. Here it says, record your observation about how animals in the videos try to. We saw many videos where the birds were trying to attract, the birds and frog were trying to attract their mates by different ways. You saw it was spreading its wing and dancing. It was making sounds, singing. It was building nest, a nice colorful nest, and or producing light and glowing to attract the mate. These are all ways to attract, and when these are called the courtship behavior. So the behavior is the way an organism reacts to other organisms or its environment. The behaviors you observed in the video are a form of communication. Animals attract mates by communicating in a variety of ways. How? They use sound, they use light, they use chemicals and body language. Oftentimes, animals compete with others of the same species for a mate. They have a fight, they are aggressive, they compete. Sometimes animals even bring gifts to each other so that they can get attention of one another. They compete with members of the same species physically or through displays. How do they display? They, like, here they have shown that they are like becoming aggressive towards each other because they're competing for match. Peacocks, they compete by showing off their feathers. And male frigate birds, they influence that, like, they have their throat sacs, and when they compete, they are singing. Some animals, such as the white female gypsy moth, this is a gypsy moth, it releases chemicals, and these chemicals are called pheromones. You should remember this term, pheromones. They are used to attract males. Female produces pheromones to attract males. Many moths and butterflies can detect these pheromones from a distance of nearly 6 miles, and they can be attracted towards it. Now, there are some animals which, like here the frog, they have mating songs. They produce the sounds which draws attention of the mate. Some male birds bring a female gift, food, such as a male tern bringing a fish to the female. Male fiddler crabs, they wave their claws and they move around the ocean floor to attract the female fiddler crabs. So the male bowerbirds, they build nests, elaborate nests, brightly colored objects. And these type of behaviors are called courtship behaviors. Then we come to investigation, page 162, question. Here you can see the birds, they spread their wings, and this is known as the wingspan. Wingspan. It is different here. It is different. So the goslings are the babies of the goose, baby geese. They, in the air, if they see the wingspan, they can identify if it's their parent or if it's some predator. So they will be able to find out because they know the wingspan of their parent. Here they say that there are three birds. What is the difference between each three? Silhouette means this black figure. So what is the difference between each? You can see the wingspan is different for each. They have a different wingspan. Also their necks and their beaks are different. So these are the differences between them. You have to tell two characteristics that are different. So the length of the necks. Here there is neck is long, small, little big, and here's a long neck. And the wingspans are also different. When goslings, that is different wingspan, they duck down, they hide. Why do they hide? Because the gosling would duck upon seeing a predatory bird. If they see a predatory bird, they recognize it by their wingspan. Thus becoming, so they duck down so that they can hide from the predator. Then another behavior of animals is protecting their offsprings. Birds are not the only animals that build nests and protect their young ones. There's some mammals, some amphibians, fishes, reptiles, and insects. They also protect their eggs and their young, or even themselves, by building nests. Animals build different type of nests or dens, like, to protect their young ones from the predators. Another example of nurturing. Nurturing means looking after the young ones, taking care of the young ones. Another behavior is called herding. You should know what is herding. Many animals herd. Herd means they are collect together. They're many together. Their offspring to ensure the young animals are not left behind and are safe from predators. Elephants take turns watching over each other's babies so that the mother can take rest. So they take turns to look after the babies. Some animals, such as the musk oxen, they circle their young with their horns facing out. So their horns are facing out, so they're protecting the young. Bison form two circles around their young ones. Firstly, the females form a circle around the young, and then the males, they form a circle around the females. So this is how they're protecting their young ones. So this behavior is called protecting offspring. So behaviors can be different types: courtship behavior, protecting young, environmental fact. Okay, for these two. Courtship is when they are engaging in certain courtship behavior like dancing, trying to attract their mate. Protecting is when they are trying to protect their young on the eggs. Now, for the growth and the development, the animals, they can grow and develop, but there are two factors on which it depends. Both genetic is like which they get from the parents. The color of the hair, the eye color, that comes from the parents. But there are some factors like the environmental factors, like the diet. If they're getting a good diet, they will be uh, like tall, they'll be healthy. So diet, exercise. If there's water, if there's food, they will be better. So there are environmental factors and genetic factor. So that's all for your multiple choice questions. So I think I have gone through all the main questions. So please let me know if there is any problem. In our next video, we'll be talking about the FRQs. I hope that helps you. Girls, if you have any queries, you can always reach out to me and then I will help you solve your queries. Thank you.